Welcome to LFC Transfer HQ, your ultimate source for all things Liverpool FC transfers. Like and subscribe for more football updates. Our first news is, deal completed. Fabrizio Romano confirms Liverpool have hijacked stars transfer to Arsenal. Liverpool have reportedly beaten Arsenal to the transfer of Salford City wonder kid Will Wright, despite his deal with the Gunners being verbally agreed. According to Fabrizio Romano, the Reds have now swooped in ahead of their rivals, with a deal complete for Wright to move to Anfield on a 3-year contract. See below for details from Romano's post on X, as he's claimed that Liverpool have now got everything in place to sign the talented 17-year-old forward, even though he was apparently really close to joining Arsenal instead. Romano posted, "Deal completed for Will Wright to join Liverpool from Salford City. Documents have been signed in the last 12h. 17-year-old talent also signed his contract for the next 3 years, until June 2028. #LFC beat Arsenal to the signing as deal was verbally agreed club to club. Liverpool beat Arsenal to Will Wright transfer. This looks like fine work by Liverpool, who have landed themselves an exciting young talent at the expense of one of their major rivals. Arsenal clearly wanted Wright as well, and must have thought they had this deal in the bag after reaching a verbal agreement. This just goes to show it's never quite a done deal until everything's been signed and officially announced. Has Will Wright made the right choice? Wright has caught the eye at Salford City and looks like a player with a big future, but will Liverpool be the best move for his development? We've arguably seen more young players coming through at Arsenal, with the likes of Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe and Eddie Nketiah rising up from their academy into the first team a few years ago. More recently, we've also seen Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly becoming key players, and Max Dowman could be next after an impressive pre-season. By contrast, Liverpool's only real comparable success story of that type in recent times is with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and to a lesser extent, Curtis Jones. LFC clearly wanted Wright, though, so they must have big plans for him and he must have been won over by them. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our second news is Liverpool sign Alexander Isak on 5-year deal for £150 million to £65 million. Replacement features in Newcastle United comeback 11. A look at the team Newcastle United can assemble to bounce back from a potential Alexander Isak sale. Liverpool have become the bane of Newcastle United's lives this summer. Their worst nightmare is becoming reality, with the Reds set to make a formal approach for Alexander Isak in the coming days. Newcastle World understands the situation is very much in the air, especially as the Magpies are not close to a potential successor. Isak, as it stands, remains a Newcastle player, and that could still be the case when Liverpool travel to St James' Park on August 25. But what happens if the 25-year-old is sold? For starters, selling him to Liverpool would hardly send out warning signs to the rest of the Premier League regarding the Saudi-backed project. The brutal truth is that Isak wants out. And Toon Chiefs are already forming a contingency plan for his exit. Newcastle World has profiled a possible starting lineup the Magpies could target to salvage what has been a disastrous window so far. How Newcastle United could line up next season if Alexander Isak leaves and a replacement is signed. Will he go or will he stay? That's the big question surrounding Alexander Isak at Newcastle United right now. Newcastle have always maintained that Isak is not for sale, but now know the player wants to leave. With that, the club has a difficult decision to make. Liverpool are seriously interested in Isak and as per reports are preparing a £120 million British record offer. But if the Magpies are to sell, then £150 million is what they are looking for. With still 3 years left on his contract, Newcastle are in a strong position. There are two options: keep a player who may be unhappy or sell for a record amount of cash. If it's the latter that the club choose, then the pressure will be on to sign a replacement. Clarity on the situation is needed sooner rather than later, with the Premier League opener away to Aston Villa just 3 weeks away. After that, there are only 2 weeks in which Newcastle have to get their business done. The only signing so far is Anthony Elanga in a £55 million deal from Nottingham Forest. In a scenario where Isac leaves and Newcastle sign a replacement, or two, we take a look at Eddie Howe's side could line up next season. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our third news is forget Marc Guehi, Liverpool handed a chance to sign alternative for half the price. Liverpool's squad appears to be short of a centre-back and a former Arne Slot favourite is available to purchase. Arne Slot seemed to be in agreement. The Liverpool head coach might have named the players in his squad who are capable of operating as makeshift options. He may allay fears of Joe Gomez's injury. But Slot indeed admitted the obvious after a 4-2 loss to AC Milan. The Reds have yet to replace Jarell Quansah after he was sold to Bayer Leverkusen for up to £35 million earlier this summer. In truth, Quansah's exit will not be detrimental to Liverpool's upcoming Premier League title defence. The academy product started only one match on the way to landing the silverware, which was against Ipswich Town on the opening day of the 2024-25 season. He was substituted at half-time. Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate provided the backbone to the Reds, claiming a record-equalling 20th English crown. But with Liverpool having ambitions of also competing for the Champions League, as well as the FA Cup and Carabao Cup, squad depth is required. Quansah's void needs to be filled. Centre-back needed. Gomez spent a significant period of last term injured with a hamstring problem that required surgery. Konate had time on the treatment table with a knee issue. Both have struggled to stay fit in previous years. And while Van Dijk has only had one serious injury in his career, he is now aged 34 and may need to be managed a little more cautiously. There have been several centre-backs linked. Marc Guehi's name has been the most prominent, and it's easy to see why. The Crystal Palace captain ticks plenty of boxes from a recruitment perspective given he's out of contract next year. The likes of Parma's Giovanni Leone and Wolfsburg's Konstantinos Kouliarakis have also been touted. However, perhaps Slot could turn to a player who he knows. That is something that often happens in football when a new boss takes over, but the Dutchman has so far avoided doing so. There has yet to be a member of his Feyenoord squad that won the Eredivisie in 2022-23 to join him on Merseyside. Many of them have landed significant moves. This summer, David Henko has joined Atletico Madrid for in the region of £25 million, while Igor Paiseo is closing in on a switch to Marseille. In January, Santiago Jimenez moved to AC Milan for around £27 million. Slot favourite made available. Last summer, Lutgerald Geertruida earned a switch from Feyenoord to RB Leipzig for around £18 million. The Netherlands international had been a mainstay in Slot's side at De Kuip, and he had been mooted as possibly moving to Anfield after Slot succeeded Jurgen Klopp. However, just a year after joining Leipzig, Geertruida will reportedly be allowed to leave. Despite making 39 appearances for the German side in 2024-25. Geertruida's maiden season at Leipzig didn't go as he might have planned. But he was part of a side that underachieved, with Die Roten finishing just 7th in the Bundesliga and missing out on European qualification entirely. Yet he is clearly a player who has plenty of ability. And he is someone whose versatility might appeal to Slot. Geertruida is capable of playing as a centre-back, right-back, left-back and in midfield. Per Transfermarkt, 115 of his 318 senior matches have been at the heart of the rearguard. When Feyenoord won the Dutch title in 2022-23, he played 19 times as a centre-back. Liverpool are not short of right-backs. Trent Alexander-Arnold's void was swiftly filled by the arrival of Jeremy Frimpong, who will compete with Connor Bradley. However, Frimpong has been deployed in a more attacking position during pre-season and, as things stand, is the likely candidate to fill in for Mo Salah when he heads off to the African Cup of Nations in the winter. And with the Reds being unlikely to sign a new midfielder this summer, Geertruida could also help out to ease the load on his compatriot Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis Mac Allister and company. It has been suggested that Leipzig would like to net more than £18 million for the 25-year-old. Given that Guehi could cost more than double that fee, Geertruida, a player who slots knows, could be a cheaper alternative. Our last news is Liverpool transfer news. Sad, Alexander Isak verdict as forgotten star offered escape route. Liverpool have placed Alexander Isak at the top of their next transfer wishlist despite already spending nearly £300 million this summer following the arrival of Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt £4.79m. Liverpool are showing no signs of slowing down in the transfer market as they aim to get Alexander Isak's mega transfer over the line. The Swedish hitman is a major target for the Reds despite already splashing out nearly £300 million on transfers this summer, with the arrival of Hugo Ekitike for £79 million adding. Yet another high-profile arrival and showing the club mean business this season, Isac could cost Liverpool around £150 million and the striker has reportedly stated his desire to move to Anfield, with the departure of Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich for £65.5 million freeing up more funds for Arne Slot to spend. But the Dutchman may have to also rubber-stamp the exits of more unwanted stars at Anfield before he can press on with any incomings. Darwin Núñez and Federico Chiesa are just two players who have been linked with exits. It remains to be seen whether Liverpool have enough financial muscle left to complete an ambitious swoop for Newcastle star Alexander Isak, given that the Swedish star would cost at least £150m. Isak still has 3 years left on his contract at St James Park and Newcastle are in no rush to sell him, but their hand could be forced after the player told the club he wanted to explore his options. Newcastle have Champions League football to offer Isak, but it appears his head has been turned. Owen, who played for both clubs, said he sympathized with Newcastle potentially losing a player of Isak's caliber but insisted money would not be the driving force behind the move. If any decent player becomes available, the big boys come and eventually they move, he told TalkSport. It's sad because you want competition in football, but you put yourself in a player's point of view. If you didn't have ambition, then football would be nothing. You've got one short career trying to win as much as you can, trying to get to the best team. That's what drives everybody. People will say it's money, it's not. Most footballers just want to be in the best teams, in the best competitions and winning trophies. Unfortunately, this scenario will never, ever change. Diaz pays tribute to Liverpool. Some Liverpool fans will be gutted to lose a top player like Luis Diaz, especially after he showed his value to the team since his arrival in 2022. Scoring 41 times across 4 seasons. He'll now be plying his trade for Bayern Munich after sealing a big £65.5 million move to Germany, but he'll have fond memories of winning 3 domestic cups under Jurgen Klopp and the Premier League title under Arne Slot last season. Thanks for watching. That's all for today's transfer update. But the transfer window never sleeps, and neither do we. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest news.